What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily Podcast, powered by Anijar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Miami got a commitment. We did a reaction pod. Could this be the start of a run of commitments for the Miami Hurricanes? We are going to talk about that. Also, I was up in Tampa for the OT7 Championships. This is like the 7-on-7 national championships. It was a huge event, NFL Network. Going to talk about some Miami targets, some guys that Miami could get in the mix for, and just some national guys that really stood out. Really interesting event to be there live. First, I want to talk about some folks that are always working overtime for you, and that is Anijar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733, and take back control of your life with Anijar and Levine. They don't get paid until you get paid. Pete, get in here. You know, we did this in a reaction pod to Timothy Merritt, the cornerback from Birmingham, Alabama, committed to Miami. You could go watch that on YouTube. This was a name that we gave you on the bank on this show, you know, over a month ago. So remember to like and subscribe. Gave it to Canes Connection members before that. So sign up for canesconnection.com, promo code CIS, 20% off first month, and access to those private insider Zooms. So if you're following us, this is not a new name. This is a name that Miami prioritized, even though it wasn't very publicized with the recruiting sites that we wanted this guy. We wanted this guy big time, and we're able to get him over Tennessee, Auburn, Arkansas. Again, you can listen to that commit video. What this show's about is a potential run on commitments. And, you know, there are a few names here that could potentially be popping off soon that Miami has momentum with, that have taken their visual visits, like Miami, seen everything they need to see from Miami. And now it's just a matter of, you know, maybe seeing another school, checking that box. But Miami really sitting in a good spot for 4 players in particular. So I'll start, Pete. Jaden Wilkerson, offensive tackle from Orlando. This is a guy who visited a couple weeks ago, 6'6", 330, played at a small school, played basketball mostly, transferred to Orlando Edgewater, which is a much larger school in the area, for spring and for this coming season. That's going to be a much, much better gauge of his competition level, how he can stack up against better players. But he's someone that Miami really likes. They liked him on his visit. He liked Miami. He has, you know, some Power 4 visits lined up, but Miami is in the driver's seat there, and they think this guy could be a very, very interesting tackle with upside. Very excited to see how he looks at Edgewater. I might drive up and catch a game because I love these kind of prospects. Pete, you worked with offensive linemen for a while. In terms of the NFL, how many guys did you find during the agent process where you're looking for guys to potentially represent, you know, just kind of evaluating the landscape, that what they did in high school athletically was much different than what they ultimately did as a dedicated offensive lineman full-time at the college level?
Well, and you're looking for the tools, right? Because offensive line, it's tough as a developmental position because most of these guys are too big to play growing up in Pee Wee and youth football, right? They, you know, a lot of them maybe are playing other positions and outgrow it and didn't play that position growing up. But what you see with Wilkerson in particular, and I said it the other day, but the flexibility is there. The one thing you worry about with these taller, longer offensive linemen is, are they waist benders or are they knee benders, right? So the leaning forward, you know, bending at the waist, that's a big no-no at the position. And even going back and looking at some of his basketball clips, the flexibility is there. You have to coach it out of him. And again, these are the body types, the athletic profiles that end up going on and being high first-round picks and big-time NFL players down the line.
Right. So Wilkerson, high upside, Power 4 prospect, not like a total diamond in the rough, but more of a rising, less known kid, a guy that is firmly on the recruiting radar, 125th ranked player in the country, Cortez Smith, offensive lineman out of Georgia. Miami made a very strong move with his visit this weekend. He has visited unofficially several times. He is someone that Miami believes is one of the top interior offensive linemen, if not the top in the nation. Won the shot put champion in Georgia 7A, 56-2 shot. Finished second in the discus, 167-4. So this dude can throw. The explosive powers there on tape. This is an interesting name, a guy who's visited Miami multiple times unofficially, had his unofficial visit this weekend, loved it, still has Georgia Tech, obviously the local schools there lurking. But I think Miami has made a very, very good run with Cortez Smith. So I'd put him as somebody to watch. Another name to watch. This is a top 100 player that we've talked about a ton on the podcast, which is Gavin Nix, the linebacker out of IMG, originally from Orlando. He visited this weekend with his father. Love the visit, love the plan that Derek Nicholson and the staff laid out for him. He's a smaller guy, not tiny, but he's more Jonathan Vilma size. And that's the comparison you get talking to people. Not saying he's going to have that career, but he has that style, smart, captain, fast, sideline to sideline, a true linebacker. Malik Bryan, who Miami got from IMG, they were getting him to move him to linebacker. He was an edge there, kind of like a stand-up rusher. When he goes to Miami, the transition is tough. He ends up going back to Jack, to that outside linebacker position, and having a very good spring as a rusher. Nix doesn't have to make that kind of transition. He's a linebacker, and he's being recruited that way. Florida State's in there. Notre Dame's had interest, but I think Miami is in the best spot with Gavin Nix after this weekend, and I would put him on watch. And then another name to watch who's going to be visiting Georgia and Miami, making a commitment in a few weeks. Chris Ewald, the corner out of Chaminade. Miami is in a very good spot with him. You had big corner in Tim Merritt, 6'2", 185. Ewald, another big corner local, could add to a room that you're trying to beef up with. In my opinion, you should be taking 4 to 5 players at that position. So, Pete, any of these kids, I know you've watched the film on all these guys during the shows and everything else. Like, does anybody stand out to you of this group that you say, this guy's got interesting tools?
The Cortez Smith one, I mean, we've talked about him a couple times recently, but the power is there, the explosiveness is there. And again, we're looking at Miami's roster right now, and we're having to move tackles to guards, which it's not the end of the world. It's better than moving a guard to tackle, as we have the discussion all the time. But you still would like to see them add some versatile pieces in the inside there. And look, Smith may end up being a center down the line, but he sure looks like he has the athletic ability to play guard as well. So when you recruit centers, sometimes the issue can become, well, are they only a center or can they actually play guard as well? You want to be able to get guys who can play both spots because you only can play one center at a time, right? So a guy like Cortez Smith, I think, is a very intriguing prospect. I'm a fan of pretty much each one of these guys, but Smith really stood out in the tape that we've watched recently.
And look, if any of these guys commit in the next couple of weeks, they should be making a stop at Caneswear and Davie, or if they're out of town like Cortez Smith or Jaden Wilkerson, caneswear.com. Supply all their Canes needs. Unbelievable selection. And if any of these guys are watching the Stanley Cup, or if you're watching the Stanley Cup, Florida Panthers looking to take a commanding 2-0 lead. Nobody's got more Panthers gear than caneswear.com and Caneswear. It's really Miami fans wear, meaning they got all the Miami teams plus the best selection of Canes in the country. So caneswear.com or Caneswear for your sporting needs.
D, let's talk about this overtime tournament, man. It's crazy how much the space has changed in the 10 years that we've been, 10 plus years really for me that we've been in this, right? I remember they had the outside the line story years ago about South Florida Express. And it was like, introducing 7-on-7 to the mainstream world. What was it? Everyone was kind of figuring out it was going to be like the AAU circuit for football. And it's really come full circle now. Like you said, the event was featured on NFL Network. I mean, talk to me about what it was like out there. You called me pretty excited after, saying how it was there was a lot of stuff going on, screens everywhere. So just talk about the event itself real quick. Yeah,
man, I'm thinking back to old Air It Out days. As some of you guys listening to the show remember, that tournament has come a long way since then. Man, the technology, you had cameras, you had drones, you had those cameras on a string. Every time a big play was made, there was giant TVs, state of the art, and they immediately played the replay, and the replay looked better than like an NFL replay. I mean, there was really big technology there, some big brands there. DJ was constantly playing. It kind of felt like an NBA Jam, an arcade game, because the teams would go right up and down the field. There was those money, ching ching playing all the time, like different sound effects. It really felt like a video game. My thought watching it, quite frankly, was, man, if they ever were allowed to gamble on this thing would go insane, because it's right up and down the field. You can play a 10-minute drive. You have like a money drive, kind of like a money ball in a 3-point contest where it's worth more. Usually teams will designate that as their last drive. So it could be a tie game all the way through. you're down by 7. Then at the end, last drive, you have a chance to win it because you cash in your money ball chip. It's a very fast pace. The best teams don't necessarily always win because, again, it goes back and forth. South Florida Express won the tournament. Disappointed for Team Raw, who ended up losing to Deuce Knight, Notre Dame commit, who we'll talk about. But South Florida Express, who didn't really have a great 7-on-7 season, came together here in the overtime tournament, and really some big names on display that were both Canes targets and guys that the Canes will have to probably play against, or at least see in the college football playoff, because there were a lot of 4-stars and 5-stars in attendance.
Yeah, and let's get into some of these guys here, and we have some clips loaded up ready. But D, let's talk about some of the players that stood out to you, some of these Miami targets, and just overall the best players of the tournament.
One of the guys that I came in wanting to get a better feel for was Jamie French, the wide receiver out of Jacksonville, played for South Florida Express, has been a 5-star. Watching his film, I liked a lot of it. I thought he was very good. It wasn't quite what you saw with Jeremiah Smith and some of the guys last year. So I wanted to see him in person. And I got to be honest, seeing him in person, he rose for me. And he was already high. I mean, he was already a top high-end 4-star, 5-star player who's going to get recruited by big schools. Texas in the mix, Louisiana State, Miami, Florida State, all these kind of schools. Man, seeing him in person, he's very smooth. He can change speeds. He had a lot of deep ball completions, which, I didn't see as much of that on the tape. We're just running by guys. He was able to do that with just his change of speeds, not just burning like a track guy, but being able to be smooth and accelerate. Tracks the ball, huge hands, can run after the catch a little bit. Again, this is 7-on-7, so they're not tackling. But his route running was very sharp. He can sink his hips. This is a guy to me that if he gets in a college weight program and really fills up that upper body, gets a little stronger, keeps working on his routes, he looks like he has just natural talent in that area. He could be, 1,000+ yard receiver at a high major level. I was impressed with Jamie French. He is rated accurately based on what I saw from him. Another guy who
you have it written here as Malachi Corley, D. I think it might be a Freudian slip. The third round pick, I forget what it was for the Jets, but Malachi Toney, American Heritage wide receiver.
Yeah, when I did the rundown, I accidentally wrote Malachi Corley because it kind of reminded me of Malachi Corley with the size of Malachi Toney. 2026 commitment to the Miami Hurricanes from American Heritage. Not the tallest guy in the world. He's like 5'10", plays in the slot, but he's big. He's really like a running back, which is why I think I put the Corley in there. Malachi Corley, known for running after the catch. Malachi Toney, the Miami commit, he has that ability. I was really impressed with his mindset. This is a guy that fought for the ball, was aggressive, just had that sort of presence about him that you'd like to see, especially with smaller receivers, that they want the ball. It's like a Xavier Restrepo. He's kind of like that in terms of being a smaller, stronger guy where he's short, but he's not small. He's strong, very good route runner. He had a couple concentration drops, but he made some really good catches. I think generally he's known for having very good hands. But the mentality, he wants the ball at big spots. I like him as a player for Miami in 2026. I spoke to him. He says that he's going to be visiting Oregon, but he has the best relationship with Miami. They've been recruiting him the hardest. So Malachi Toney, a very good name from Team Raw. Another name from Team Raw. This one's not as much of a Miami target necessarily, but he's going to be playing for Miami Central this year, and I was impressed by him. Nashawn Montgomery, wide receiver originally from Rhode Island, has a lot of big schools after him, Alabama, some others. And Miami, I think, was not sure about his speed. His junior film, I believe he played for Newman up in Palm Beach. The speed didn't necessarily show up on that film. You couldn't tell because who he was going against. But seeing him in person, he's a smooth runner. Definitely more of a vertical guy than a guy's going to kill you over the middle, but very smooth vertically, very good with the ball in the air. I saw him catch a deep ball and then do a front flip.
We have the video here.
Yeah. I mean, he's more athletic than I thought he was. When Raw was in trouble, he kind of seemed like the go-to guy for TCU commit Ty Hawkins, the quarterback for Miami Raw. So he's somebody that I think will leave the state probably, or at least leave Miami. He's not from here originally. He would have liked to have Miami interest. It just didn't work out that way. Miami's going to need to really hit a home run in this wide receiver class if this guy ends up being good, because you don't want this guy to be balling for someone else as a Miami Central product. But I think he could be a guy that has a really big season for Miami Central and emerges. Some other guys that are Miami targets: Vernell Brown, the wide receiver from Orlando, played for South Florida Express with Jamie French. Again, the team that won it all. Explosive, twitchy. Really impressed with him. He's bigger than I thought. He's not tall, but he's kind of like Malachi Toney, and then he's a strong guy. Very assertive as well. You could tell he's very smart. Just a lot of good intangible qualities with him, and he was probably the twitchiest guy, most explosive guy in the tournament. So he's someone that Miami has very, very high on their board, and I can see why, seeing him in person. Dallas Wilson, the 5-star wide receiver, committed to Oregon from the Tampa area. He was on his home turf playing for Raw Miami. And, his size really stood out. He only played Sunday because of a family situation, which I'm told resolved well. But he only played on Sunday, so I only really got to see him for one game. But he played on Friday as well, but that was their Saturday, Sunday. The size is obvious with him. The talent is obvious with him. I don't know if he's advanced route running as some of these other guys, but you could tell why he's so coveted is just the physical traits, his size, his strength, and his ability to accelerate. That all stood out with him. Ben Hanks, the corner for Raw Miami, Booker T. Washington, a student. He's somebody that, same like Dallas Wilson, he came late, as did Cortez Mills. So Raw Miami got 3 guys on Sunday. 2 of them were on visits, 2 other schools. In Ben Hanks' case, he was at the University of Florida, comes in on Sunday as advertised, smooth. No one threw anything his way just because of the speed and the anticipation. The best player I saw all weekend, though, and Pete, pull up this video here. This, to me, the best player I saw, Devin Sanchez, 5-star corner, committed to Ohio State. Played for South Florida Express, not from South Florida. I believe he's from Texas. But, man, this guy's got size, smooth, fast. You will hear about this name in the NFL draft in 3 years if he stays healthy. Extremely impressed with Devin Sanchez. Ohio State's got 2 unbelievable corners, this guy being one of them. Another name that, maybe it's not a Miami name, but someone to keep in mind as college football fans, Deuce Knight, the left-handed quarterback for Notre Dame, commit, took his team to the finals, defeated Raw Miami. He's listed as a dual threat. I'm told he's an unbelievable athlete, but I just saw him dropping back and scanning the field and throwing dimes lefty. He was extremely impressive. And then one name I'm going to leave you guys with, Vance Spafford. This is a 2026 name from California. He runs a 10.69. It's like, but people see this guy that is the whole deceptively fast, quicker than fast, all the white guy cliches. This guy is fast, 10.69 in the 100. He was running by Raw's DBs, running by everybody's DBs. Really, really stood out to me as a guy that in 2026 is going to get a lot of recruiting attention. So we're overall really cool event. I reckon if anyone's in those areas for these 7-on-7s, go out there, maybe throw some side bets, because I don't think you can bet legally on it, but it's a very fun event, and a lot of talent on display for the Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, and D, is this the end of the 7-on-7 season here, essentially?
Yeah, now that's my understanding. You got to get workout for the season, get your team workouts. Some of these guys will be training privately and stuff, but this was it. This was the championship. South Florida Express, goes ahead and wins it after a tough season. Miami is going to have Jamie French and Vernell Brown on campus. I believe they're expected to come in midweek. So big targets. Miami's going to shower them with a lot of attention. I think French in particular is a name that, he has a new favorite school every week. Miami is next up to bat. I would prioritize French in a way that maybe I wouldn't have thought before seeing him live. Seeing him on film, he was good, very productive, which is important with wide receivers. You want that high production. So he was a high player, but now seeing him live, I really do see the vision and the upside. He's very polished, but he's not a finished product. There's still upside there.
All right, D, remember, like this video, subscribe to the channel, CanesInSight Daily, coming at you Monday through Friday. And if you have not checked out already, the instant reaction video to Timothy Merritt's commitment to the Canes last night. D, anything else here?
No, thank you guys. The views have been crazy lately. Subscribers, listens. This thing is turning up. You guys are really doing an unbelievable job supporting us. We can't thank you enough for your support and your consistency. And we try to be consistent with you, and we will be here every single day, carry you through the summer into the season. The recruiting season is going to carry us through the summer, which is great. I love this new calendar. I know the coaches hate it, but it's great for content, great for recruiting junkies like us. So we'll keep giving you exclusive insights, giving you names like Tim Merritt a month ahead of time, giving you on the field reports from some of these players, and trying to just keep you guys as informed as possible. So thank you so much for supporting. Remember, if you're not a Canes Connection member, 20% off the first month. Use promo code CIS. Let's help get the pot for these type of players, because when you're recruiting Jamie Frenches of the world, the Ben Hanks, Dallas Wilson, it's a big time battle. You need big time guns, and that's what Canes Connection is for. So everyone who's a Canes Connection member, thank you. That's why you're getting names first before anybody anywhere in the Canes world. And if you're not a member, sign up, 20% off, promo code CIS, and you will get access to an insider Zoom, which I believe I have another one next week. And we'll be doing those pretty regularly throughout the summer and the season to give you the absolute latest on recruiting way before anybody else. So again, thank you everybody for your support. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Yeah, this an insight to the Canes, and you know we ain't playing no games. Joaquin said dominate, so that's what we do. Home of the legends and 7th floor crew, down in Miami where hurricanes brew. You here for the rumors, we bring you the news, cause it's all about the you. And nobody do it like CanesInSight. 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 It's CanesInSight.